Hi everybody, this is Cheryl Richardson, and I'm here for this week's Facebook Live coaching. It's Tuesday, as a lot of you know. Well, it's Tuesday here in the States, and it's about 6 o'clock Eastern. And God knows it's been a tough week here in the States, and I know that a lot of people are really suffering and struggling and frightened and overwhelmed by the violence that happened in Vegas, and that it feels like it's just one more huge thing on one more huge event on the backs of plenty of other huge events, like the hurricanes and Houston and poor Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Bahamas and Florida. I mean, it feels like it's never ending. And I think certainly with the media, it also feels like it's never ending because it's going 24/7. And so I'm glad to be here with all of you. And you know, there's power in community, even if it's virtual. There is power in community when we all come together. And I'm sort of still in the middle of it. I'll be honest with you. I'm really pissed, and I'm really overwhelmed at times. I have to really be mindful of not watching the news. I think it's important to remember that when you keep, you know, please God, stop watching videos and, you know, these videos that keep getting played over and over again of the shootings or people running are re-traumatizing people over and over again. If you know what happened, if you've got the information, allow yourself to just take a step back and digest what's happened without re-traumatizing yourself. Yeah, there's way too much footage on the media. That's what pisses me off the most. It's like, are you freaking kidding me, people? You know, first of all, what about respecting people? All right, I'm going to get started for a minute. What about respecting people's privacy in the middle of trauma? You know, what about getting out of people's faces? And if one more person says, so tell me how you felt about that. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like, where's the humanity? There's so much I could say about it. And I'm here to just be a voice of love and reason. I do believe with every fiber of my being that we are headed for a breakthrough that's going to change everything. And that breakthrough is going to come when enough of us get pissed enough and fed up enough that we start, and we already have, people are already speaking up. I have colleagues and friends and people that I don't know, but who I respect and admire, who are doing unbelievable things for people in Houston and Florida and Puerto Rico and the Bahamas and the fires out west. I mean, you know, they care and they're doing something about it. And I think that we all need to take action when we're ready. The first action is really, it's local. It's like this local in your own human body. Stop re-traumatizing yourself by watching the videos. Don't participate in the huge boundary bashing that happens when people shove microphones and cameras in people's faces who have been traumatized. And allow yourself to get pissed at it all. You know, anger is a normal, healthy, good response to trauma and to violence and to injustice. And oftentimes, if we can't connect with if we can't connect with our own anger and rage, we can't connect with our power either. And so anger is a really good thing when it's used constructively and when it's used to support action that supports humanity. Obviously, I don't know what was going on with the person who did what he did, and at this point, that's the least of my concern. I'm more concerned with the people who are left behind. And so anyway, you know, one of the things I wanted to tell you about today, and I'm actually really glad, is my friend Nick Ortner has a book that just came out. It's called Manifesting Your Greatest Self. And I've been waiting for this book. I read an early version, and one of the things I love about the book is Nick who's just such a master at using tapping therapies. Nick has included a lot of, what do you call it? A lot of tapping exercises with the actual language you can use. And the book came out today, which, from an author's perspective, you think, oh, the last thing in the world you want is this baby that you've spent months, years on cultivating the information and the wisdom, putting it into a book that you've spent all this time on to come out during a national crisis. But I actually see it differently. When I started rereading Nick's book today, the subtitle of the book is 21 Days to Releasing Self-Doubt, Cultivating Inner Peace, and Creating a Life You Love. One of the things that Nick has done, I just want to find my glasses here, as I said, is he's included multiple tapping sequences. And I just want to give you an idea. There's 21 of them, and I want to give you an idea of what some of them are. First of all, I want to say this. I'm going to show you the book so you know what it looks like. Hold on, let's see if I can. There you go. Can I hold it back far enough? Manifesting Your Greatest Self with Nick's beautiful on the cover. I'm really glad about that. That his photo was on the cover. Let's see if I could just fix my camera and my light so that I don't knock myself over. Here we go. Hi, Poopy. Poupon's here. So one of the things that happens when trauma occurs is the stronger we are, the more connected we are to our core, to our center, to our wise self, the better we can weather these difficult storms, emotional and actual literal storms. And this book has so many beautiful exercises that help people to heal and help people to get stronger and more connected to their wisdom and to their core, your inner core. And so there's 21 different ways to do that. Nick's talking about 21 ways to manifesting your greatest self. I would say that greatest self is filled with the wisdom and the courage and the power to actually make changes in the world. And so I want to just give you an example of some of the tapping sequences that he includes in here. For example, there's a tapping meditation or a tapping exercise on feeling safe and unfrozen, which would be so helpful at this time, right? There's another one, a tapping sequence on releasing anger, so that if you feel so overwhelmed by anger that you can't be functional or helpful, it's a great exercise to do. I love this one too. There's a tapping exercise on I refuse to forgive. Like, how relevant is this right now, right? And then there's a tapping exercise on choosing happiness, which while that might seem like a strange thing to want to choose right now, given what's going on, the reality is that the more centered and peaceful we are, the more effective we are in the world. So there's a bunch of really, really terrific tapping exercises in here. And I've asked Nick to come on with me to do a tapping, like a little mini tapping workshop. And we're going to do that next Monday at 7 o'clock. I'll do the next week's Facebook Live on Monday at 7. But you can get the book today. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and, all of the typical online bookstores. I like to support them all. Your independent bookstores have them as well. Manifesting Your Greatest Self. You saw it not turned around. Just look for Nick's beautiful picture. You can see his picture, right? Look for his handsome photo, beautiful smile on the cover. And this is like a tapping Bible. I'm keeping it. I actually have friends who have already used it and have had great results. The map, the sort of tapping map that he uses for each of the tapping exercises is something that you can use forever. And a lot of people always want to know, what do I say when I'm tapping? What kind of language do I use? And that's one of the things I love so much about his book is he's laid out a map of 21 different tapping exercises with all of the language that you need. So, and right now we could use some tapping. So I thought I would just actually do a little tapping exercise with all of you around just releasing anxiety from tough news. So just, let's do a tapping, just a little tapping exercise together around creating peace, releasing anxiety and creating peace. How about that? And inner strength. We'll see. I'm sort of like intuitive when I do these tapping exercises. I trust my intuition and I kind of go with what occurs to me. So let's just do it together. And you can just watch me do tap the spots. You should be able to see them all. I'm going to tap under my arm, just so you know it's here, 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 here. The collarbone, I like to use 2 hands, under the arm, and the top of the head. So let's just take a couple minutes, shall we? And everybody, close your eyes for a moment. Hi, Mom. I'm glad you're here. Close your eyes for a moment and take a few breaths. Feels good to do that, to just come into this moment, come into your body. Feel your feet on the floor, your body in the chair or wherever you're sitting, or you might be laying down. Just take a few breaths. And come back home into your body. So many of us leave the body when we're going through difficult times. We can leave it in a number of ways. We start working a lot, or eating a lot, or drinking more, or just... Poupon, do not start knocking things off. Poupon knocks things off when he feels anxious, knocks things off the windowsill. Just a few breaths. And then just tune in and notice on a scale from 0 to 10. Just notice where your anxiety level is, with 0 being none at all and 10 being really, really anxious and stressed, overwhelmed, whatever it might be, strong emotions, uncomfortable emotions. And if you have a piece of paper and a pen, you could write down that number. If not, no big deal, just remember it. And then with me, tap along with me. This is the karate chop spot, tapping right here. And just repeat after me, right out loud, wherever you are. And if you're someplace where you can't say it out loud, say it to yourself, it's totally fine. Even though I have all this anxiety, I choose to feel peaceful and calm. Even though I feel overwhelmed by all the difficult news, I choose to feel peaceful and calm. Even though I feel anxious and upset and angry, I choose to love and accept these feelings. Even though I feel afraid and anxious, I choose to remember that I have the power to make changes in my life. And then follow me with the tapping right here. And just repeat after me. All this anxiety, all this upset, all this frustration, all this anger, all this overwhelm, these fearful feelings, this anxiety about the state of the world. When will I ever find peace? I just feel scared and anxious. I feel angry at what's happening in the world. I feel helpless and frustrated. All this anxiety, these feelings of being overwhelmed, this grief and pain, all this anxiety and fear. I choose to feel peaceful and calm. Stay with me. I'm starting to feel better. My body is calming down. I feel safe and at peace. I feel better able to handle the world. I feel better able to handle these feelings. Feeling peaceful and calm feeling grateful for this moment, feeling so grateful for the humanity, the goodness of humanity, for all the first responders and the second and third responders, for the people who choose love and kindness, for the people who hold positive intentions, for the people who take action, feeling peaceful and calm, feeling centered and strong, feeling back in my body, peaceful and strong, and able to continue the good work of living a soul-directed life. Take a breath. Hi, Daniel. I love you. Just feel your good heart. Take a moment and just check back in again. Close your eyes. I'm going to close mine for a minute while I regain my centeredness. And once again, on a scale from 0 to 10, notice where your anxiety is or your fear. You're welcome, Vivian and Ryan. I love you too. Thank you, Kath. And just tell me in the comments, if your number went down. So you can say yes, a 3, or yes, a 7, or sometimes when we're tapping, the numbers will go up. So remember that we're about 20 minutes into this Facebook Live. 20 minutes into the Facebook Live. So you can come back at, maybe right around 17, 16 minutes. And come on, boo-boo. Come on, you want to come up here and be with us and tap? Come on. You can go back and do this exercise several times and just notice. It works really beautifully for anxiety for a lot of people. Sometimes people's numbers will go up. Come on, boo-boo. Yeah, come on. Want to come up? Come say hi to everybody? Yeah, here he is. Can you say hi? Look at you looking at the camera. Here's a way to feel peaceful, people. Let's see, we'll put you on my lap. How's that? Okay, yeah, you can stay on Mommy's lap. Good, so your numbers went down. You're feeling better. That's great. You can go back and you can do this. Look at how simple. Some of you said I went from a 7 to a 2. That's great, Jen. Look at how quickly the tapping can help you to just calm your energy, calm your anxiety down. It works incredibly well. It's very, very effective. So I encourage you to use it. And that's why I say pick up a copy of Nick's book and, keep it with you. And can you see his little paw? I know people see your paw. They do. He's been very cuddly all day too. I think he feels it as well. And anyway, yeah, see him, he's doing the happy paws on my chest. Can you see that? Oh my God, he's so damn cute. Oh, it's another thing that just makes me feel so at peace is having a beautiful animal. Hi, Maria. Welcome from Guadalajara, Mexico. Hola. I'm glad that you're here. And I'm sending you lots of love. I've been paying attention to what's happening in Mexico as well. I didn't mention that in the beginning, but I meant to, because my heart breaks for all of those that have been incredibly affected by the hurricane in such deep and difficult ways. And anyway, we are going to get through this, people. And yes, animals are a great source of love and peace, especially when you rescue an animal, which I encourage you to do. They are great teachers and great peacemakers in our lives. And, just holding a pet automatically begins to produce oxytocin in the body. So it actually really has a physiological effect on the body when you're stroking a pet or enjoying the paw of a pet. Yes, I feel you, boo. Anyway, let's take some of your questions, shall we? I know it's taken me a little while to get to your questions, and so many of you come with them. So what you can do is you can put a Q in front of your comment if it's a question. That'll make it a little bit easier for me to see. And I'm just, as you're doing that, I'm going to just scroll through and welcome Teresa. Welcome, you're always here. And Kim and Kathy and Amy. And here we go. DK has a question with regard to tapping. I mostly use it for anxiety and fear, but I don't feel that great sense of relief others seem to go after tapping. To feel after tapping. Like I don't feel my anxiety going from a 10 to a 1, 2 or a 1 to a sense of ease. Does it simply not work for some people, or is there some key to it I might be missing? Is there a way I can find more relief by doing it? Can it actually make some people feel more weird? Yeah, I've done tapping for a long time, DK, and I first of all, I think it can work for everyone. Sometimes we actually need to work with somebody. I know I have in the past, and even, 2 years ago, June, I was in a car accident. Somebody hit me from behind, and out of the blue, I was stopped. I had no idea. It was a motorcycle, hit me from behind. It was a very traumatic experience, and I suffered for about 6 months with this. I noticed I started to get anxious about driving, started to feel anxious, afraid that somebody was going to hit me. And I called Nick and I said, Nick, can you do me a favor and can you do some tapping with me? Because I've been doing it and I've been feeling somewhat better, but there's pieces there that that I can't seem to get to. So the anxiety is still here. And Nick did a tapping session with me that was incredibly helpful. And DK, what I noticed was it was linked to some other things. How just out of the blue, life as you know it can change in a moment. And I remember it was linked to Debbie Ford dying, some old trauma, some old grief, and he was really, so sometimes that can happen. And I think the weirdness can come in if something starts to come up that we don't quite know what to do with. So, we don't know how to treat it or to deal with it. But if you just, here's what I would say to you and to anybody, DK, if you just do this, so remember this, I'm going to say it slowly, and you can go back to about 25 minutes in, or maybe you can see the time and replay this. But if you just say, even though I'm afraid the tapping won't work, I choose to feel peaceful and calm anyway. Even though the tapping doesn't seem to work for me, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though I'm afraid the tapping won't work because I'm weird or different, I choose to love my weirdness anyway. And then you can just go through, what if this doesn't work? I think I'm weird. I think I'm different. The tapping doesn't work for me. I feel anxious about it not working. What if it doesn't work? And just go to, I choose to feel peaceful and calm. And when in doubt, you can do, I choose to feel safe. I choose to feel peaceful and calm. I am safe. I feel peaceful and calm. I choose to feel safe. I choose to feel peaceful and calm. I am safe. I am peaceful and calm. You can alternate those back and forth, and that might help. You can try some of that, DK, and see what happens. If not, I would encourage you to look for somebody. If you go to Psychology Today, to their Find a Therapist website, and type in tapping, you might be able to find someone. And also, I would go to the tappingsolution.com. Let me make a note, because I'll give you all a link to Nick's website too, and look at some of the experts that are on the Tapping Summit and see if any of them any of them work with people individually, because you may want to do that. You may want to work with someone individually. Okay. Yeah, Roseanne. So you had the same thing with an accident. Yeah, you understand what I'm talking about. So, yeah. You can look for some of the experts at the tappingsolution.com, and there may be somebody there who works with individuals still, and you could just do a phone session or a Skype session with them. It could be really helpful. Okay. Hi, Elena. Welcome. Glad you're here. And Vicky, thank you for rescuing animals. I appreciate that so much. Okay, so I'm looking for questions, and And, Karen says, why has so much happened this year? You know what? We're human beings having a physical experience on Earth, and the truth is I have no idea. I have no idea why this is happening. And it's, I'm just trying to fix the light because it's getting dark here. I don't know why it's happening, and none of us really does. And I want to suggest that asking why something's happening is normal, and it's a normal part of the grieving process. And ultimately, the better, more empowering question that we want to get to at some point is, what can I do to make things better? How can I bring more love to my everyday life, to the people in my life? How can I bring more kindness and gentleness? What kind of fierce action can I take to make a call about gun control if that feels appropriate to you? Get involved politically, create a dialogue in your community. I remember I've seen so many people in my community alone create gatherings for people who are upset about different things that happen so that they bring people together to dialogue. You could do something like that in your community. Anyway, that's what I would recommend, ultimately getting to. What can I do to feel more empowered in my own life and to contribute to the betterment of society in life in general? Chiara says, for people who are bilingual, do you think our unconscious has a preferred language? I mean, should I practice or say my affirmation in my native language or in a second language? Do you think it makes any difference? What a great question, Chiara. And I think it's Chiara or Chiara, I'm not sure. I would say whatever language feels the most natural to you, feels the most comfortable, in terms of talking about how you feel, that's the language you want to use. I think, for example, if your native language is Spanish, but you're fluent in English and you use English all the time so that English feels like, a first language to you, you can use English. But if Spanish comes to you naturally and it might even be that you use Spanish for some issues and English for others, depending on what's going on. So the beauty is there's no right or wrong way, and the tapping technique is so forgiving. You could actually, eventually, because I've done it for so long, I actually don't even need to tap. I can close my eyes, be in a situation where I'm upset about something, and imagine myself tapping the points and saying whatever it is I need to say. It's great if you're on an airplane, for example, and there's turbulence and you get nervous. You can just close your eyes and start tapping in your mind, and it works just as well as tapping with your actual hands on your body. Let's see. How do we handle such a tragedy? I've donated blood and made monetary donations, but feel so lost that this horrific event happened where I live. Carol, I'm so sorry. And yeah, I think the closer to home, I think about Nick, Nick Ortner again. Nick was, lives in Connecticut, where the new town, right in the town where the school shootings happened. And, first they all just dealt with the frozen feelings of the trauma, which is why I'm so glad he's included that in his book. And they were grieving and dealing with just the emotional aftermath of what happened. And then eventually he used his foundation and went in and started working with some of the first responders and people who were directly involved. He used what he had, like you used your blood, which is such a beautiful gift. He used what he had to make a difference. And I think there's a few things, though, I want to say. Much like what happens politically, we all grow up in a family, right? We have a mom and a dad, or people who, authority figures or parental figures. And the family is a microcosm, and our system, let's say in the U.S., our political system can be a macrocosm of a family. And our communities can be a macrocosm of a family. And so a lot of times what happens, if you had trauma in your family growing up, let's say you had violence, either in your family of origin or in your own family, maybe in a relationship or something, a lot of our past trauma can get re-triggered when things happen like this, especially when they happen close to home. And so it's really important to first look at, do I need some help? I might need some support from people who people who are trained in helping people to deal with trauma, so that I can move through this and integrate this experience into my own personal life. And then once I've dealt with the grief and the anger and the fear and whatever it is that comes up, then I can look at, what can I do in my community? If in fact you are, Carol, if you're from Vegas or from that area, maybe you just host a potluck in your home and you invite people to come and talk about their feelings and what this experience means and what they wish they could do. And maybe out of that gathering, you all will come up with something that you can do to support one another and to support the greater community as a whole. All healing first begins with us as individuals. As I said in the beginning of this Facebook Live, please stop re-traumatizing yourself by watching these news. I have not watched any videos. I refuse to watch any of the videos. It feels like an intrusion into people's traumatic, private moments. I just have issues with that, And I've read what I've needed to read. I've prayed for the souls who lost their lives and the family and friends around them, and for everyone in that event who was in the middle of such a traumatic experience, just like with Puerto Rico and the trauma that they're going through. I believe in the energy of prayer and good intentions, sending healing energy out into the world. I know that's something tangible that works. And then from that individual personal healing place and doing what we can individually, then it's okay. Where can I donate money? Where can I donate blood? Where can I donate supplies? How will I choose to stay informed? Like, I'm choosing to stay informed with the Mexico earthquake and for the situation in Puerto Rico and, friends in Houston. I'm looking for local places where I can make donations to support people. I've supported animals in Puerto Rico to get them out before, Chris Carr turned me on to this wonderful woman who's protecting dogs in Puerto Rico. And I sent money there, and I sent money to help provide supplies for, with somebody I knew who was driving supplies to Mexico City for people who needed them. So, and that made me feel better. But in doing these Facebook Lives, what can we do that will make us, remind us that we have really important gifts and talents and power that can help heal the world? All of us have those. All of us do, without a doubt. All right. Yes, Yuki, who says, I speak Arabic and English. My native is Arabic, but I feel more connected to spirituality in English, such as the affirmations. So yeah, you want to use English then. That's great. Yes, and you can go back and forth, as I said. So let's see what other questions we have. Yes, hopefully love will prevail. Let's see. Other questions? I'm just going through. Sorry, everybody. Susanna says, I'm struggling to make space for another pet in my life because of the grief I still feel almost 4 years later. Also, my life is too hectic and I'm barely home, yet I need to have a pet as much as a pet somewhere needs me. Well, Susanna, I have an interesting idea for you. My good friends Bob and Melissa, who had Libby, she was a black lab. They had her for, I want to say, 14 years now. Libby passed away this past year. And they have started sharing a black lab puppy with a friend of theirs that lives up the street from them. And they actually trade off. It's their friend's dog, but the friend invited them to come play with the puppy at one point. They fell in love with the puppy and said to the friend, hey, if you're working, if you're traveling, if you need help, we'd be happy to babysit your dog. And it's turned out that this dog has become, they're sort of co-parenting this puppy. And so I thought, boy, and I know that there are other places that do that, Susanna, that might be something, if you're really busy, there's a few things I want to say to you. If you're still struggling with the loss of a pet after 4 years, chances are the loss of that pet is re-triggering other losses that need to be grieved. And if I were still struggling after 4 years, I would be in therapy figuring that out. I would be working with somebody to help me really get in touch with the grief that needs to be felt and dealt with and healed so that I can move on with my life. If your life is too hectic, it's not a loving thing to bring a pet into a home. That doesn't mean that you can't go to a local shelter and offer to feed animals and give them love and, walk a friend's dog, or, your self-care needs to come first. So doing your own healing work around the grief, I would say, is primary importance. And grieving returns us to, when we actively and openly grieve, it returns us to ourselves, capital S, in a big and important, powerful way. So doing that work, I think, is the first step. And then looking at how you might be able to share an animal or support animals in a shelter. As I wrote this past week's blog about the Center for Wildlife near my home, I went up for a tour and got to see what people, how they were taking care of all of these wild animals and birds, and thought, I could come up here once a week and get such a great animal fix. And I'm actually considering training to be an animal rehabilitator, just because I love animals so much. And I thought, well, that would be a great thing to do at this time in my life, to really learn about caring for wildlife. So there's other ways that we can get animal fixes at a time where we need to focus on our own healing, and when life might be too hectic or we might be traveling too much to be able to take in an animal permanently. All right, I hope that's helpful to you, Susanna. Let's just do good. I'm glad many of you are stopping watching TV, which is fantastic. So Catherine says, I'm trying to not judge the supporters of the Second Amendment. However, it's getting harder as the casualties pile up. Do you have any advice? I think, I feel the same way you do, Catherine. I try very hard not to judge people. I catch myself. Look, I do judge people. Let me just say that first. I'm a human being, and especially when things like this happen, I can become very judgmental. And I know from my tapping work that I need to love and accept those parts of me. But the moment I judge people who believe differently than I do, I'm no different than they are. The moment I get pissed at people who get pissed at me because I'm not believing the way they believe, or I'm not on board with, their what they choose to believe in, or choose to invest in, or choose to support, then I'm just no different. So, and I believe, I think it's important to bring more of the divine feminine into the world right now. This is what we need. I actually think it's feminine energy that's going to heal this mess, because the masculine alone ain't doing it. And the patriarchal system is on its way out, but it's going to take some time. And this is why I think we're seeing a lot of this craziness right now. So I am getting more educated about gun control. I believe in people having rights. I'm sorry, I don't see why people need machine guns. I just don't. And I think they're insane. And I also have to say, personally, I've had personal experiences with guns that have taught me a lot about the danger of even putting guns into well-intentioned hands of people who think that they're responsible, but actually, if you've never been face-to-face with a gun or a situation with a gun, you just don't know what it's like. And so, I have a lot of different opinions about that. And so, Catherine, the first thing I'm choosing to do is to get more educated. I know, for example, there are some states where you can walk off the street into a gun store and buy a gun. I think that's insane. Okay? I think that's insane. I'm not afraid to say so. Just be able to walk in and buy a gun, that's nuts. So getting more educated is going to allow me to speak from a place of an informed place. So I don't want to judge people. I just want to know what the hell I'm talking about. And then I want to just do what I can to support my position. And, to feel like my voice is heard. That's what I mean. I want to do what I can to support myself in feeling like my voice is heard. So anyway, get educated, Catherine. think of it less about judging others and more about getting connected to what really is your truth and what do you need to do to honor that truth. All right. Let's see. Yes. Question. Chiara says, I'm struggling with asking for more money for my job. I'm a teacher, and I always feel sorry for the clients who can't pay. I assume they can't pay, so I charge little, but then I feel it's not enough for me, and I feel I'm not taking care of myself financially. I'm really uncomfortable with asking for money, and I believe my lessons are worth it. Any advice? Yes, the thing to remember, when you're self-employed and you're not charging what you know you need to be charging, you're not bringing your best work to your customers and clients. Not everybody can afford what we charge. That's why there are other people who charge less that you can refer them to. But Chiara, you really need to make sure that you feel well taken care of. Otherwise, resentment's going to build, and it's either going to hurt you or it's going to hurt the people that you're working with. So I would simply do some research, find out what it is people are typically charging. You can decide that if you're going to have 20 customers, let's say, this is what I used to do as a coach, Chiara. I knew what my monthly retainer was, and I knew how many clients I needed. I'm a math gal. I knew how many clients I needed in order to earn the money I needed to earn, to pay my bills, to save money, to pay off debt, all of that sort of stuff. And then I always kept 3 or 4 coaching slots available pro bono for people who couldn't afford coaching, but took it seriously, and I knew we're going to do really good things with it in the world. So, but I couldn't do that if I wasn't charging the full fee of what I needed for the rest of my practice. If I was only charging like half the fee for a bunch of patients, eventually I would have gotten frustrated and resentful, and that's not good for anybody. So you can decide that I want 10 customers paying my full fee. You can let them know as of 30 days from now, or you could do 60 days from now, I need to raise my fees. It's always okay to say, in an effort to honor, remember this, Chiara, in an effort to honor my self-care and to bring my best work to my clients, it's time for me to raise my fees to the normal level that people are getting right now. And so on such and such a date, and it might be 30 days, it might be 60 days from now, my fees will now be X. If you have a problem with that, if you're not able to pay that, I would be more than happy to make a recommendation to somebody that might be more affordable, which means you want to do some homework about that to find somebody. I think it's really important to have somebody to refer to. So if you're not able to pay those fees, I completely understand, and let me give you a referral to somebody, or let me send you to a referral network or whatever it might be, so that you can find the support you need for the amount of money that you can charge. And then on such and such a date, you need to then raise your fees. And once you get to a full practice at the full amount of fees, then you can begin to add 1 or 2 slots of pro bono work where you look for people who really take it seriously and are really deserving of your good work, and you offer to coach them or to teach them for a very specific period of time. I'll teach you. I did this in the beginning of my coaching. I coached 10 people, 15 people for free for the first 90 days so that I could practice coaching and they could get really great coaching. But I told them at the end of 90 days, if this is working for you, you'll then need to pay my full fee. Or we'll part company, and I just will be so grateful, and please just ask that you tell other people about the good work that I do. And it really, it helped me. It was very, very helpful in building my business. So, okay, let's see. Okay, all right, everybody. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to stop there. What time is it? 6:45. Yeah, I think I'm going to stop there. Hi, Larry. Larry shows up just as I'm stopping. Hi, sweetheart. Larry is my second husband, we call him. He's the man who's helping me get through this construction, which is almost done, please God. Okay, so listen, everybody. Remember, right around 20 minutes or so is when we did the tapping to restore peace and to calm anxiety, so you can go back into the tapping there. Nick's book, Manifesting Your Greatest Self, has lots of really wonderful tapping exercises in them, 21 of them. And so pick up a copy and start underlining and dog-earing the pages. And as I said, Nick will be with me next Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be doing some tapping together for all of you, okay? All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. What do I want to say? There's a couple spots left in our Healthcare by the Sea retreat. I will put a link to the retreat on here. Oh, and I'm also going to be doing a Facebook Live about our Speak, Write, and Promote workshop that's coming up in December in Phoenix. Reed Tracy, the president of Hay House, and I teach a weekend workshop called Speak, Write, and Promote. Hey, James, welcome, honey. Glad you're here. And that's for people who want to build a larger platform for their book or their product or their service. And I'll be doing a special Facebook Live just about that too. Make sure that you're subscribed to my newsletter at CherylRichardson.com, and you'll know exactly when it's going to happen. Okay? All right, everybody. Lots of love to you. Take good care of yourselves. Stay away from the news. Mwah. Love you. Bye.